Joining us now for his first interview as Senate Majority Leader, South Dakota Republican John Thune. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. First off,
good morning, Sandra.
Your thoughts on all of this and what answers you are demanding at this moment.
Well, it's incredibly tragic, Sandra, as we all know, the enormous loss of life and those who are injured. Our hearts and prayers go out to them and their families, and they deserve answers. And we intend to get those answers and to make sure that these types of attacks don't happen again in the future. And that's why, again, as has been pointed out, it's so important that we get President Trump's nominees into place. These are key national security nominees, and when you've got people who are inspired by terrorist organizations like ISIS in this country to do these types of things, we've got to figure this out so that we can prevent these types of tragic attacks from happening in the future.
Knowing that we were already seeing an elevated terror threat, as Christopher Wray clearly detailed in a hearing in Washington in March, I put this question to Secretary Mayorkas last night. Listen.
He said the terror level threat is higher than before October 7th. So one might wonder why there hasn't been a change in policy that has led to that.
Well, there has been a change in policy. Quite frankly, the number of individuals encountered at our southern border on a daily basis now is lower than it was in 2019, the last year before the pandemic. We have the individuals already resident in the United States radicalized to violence by a foreign terrorist ideology, or over the last 8 years, what we've seen, anti-government sentiment.
Not to mention a short time before that, Mr. Leader, President Biden himself saying that the biggest threat to the homeland was white supremacy. So is this an administration that has not adapted policy to the elevated terror threat that we're seeing in this country right now?
Sandra, they are completely out of step with reality and have been for a long time, which is why we so desperately need President Trump and his team to get in place on January 20th. These guys have just completely missed the boat, and it's too little too late. They said that they responded. They didn't. This could have been fixed a long time ago. The incentive structure at the southern border has been for some time now. Just come across the border and we will wave you in. And we've seen the results of that. We've seen crime in our cities. We've seen the threat of terrorism in this country because of terrorists who are getting across the border. Some apprehended, but who knows how many getting across the border. But we know that this is a portal for a lot of bad things. The southern border has to be secured. That's got to be job one for the new administration and for this Congress. We will work with the president and his team to make sure that it is.
Your colleague in the Senate, Tom Cotton, detailed what he sees as the ISIS threats today. Listen here.
The Biden administration for 4 years has stuck its head in the sand to the threat of Islamic terrorism. With the FBI, they've had time to chase down every grandma in a red MAGA hat who attended President Trump's rally at the Ellipse 4 years ago on Monday, or to target parents who go to school boards or traditional Catholics or pro-life protesters.
I know you're going to be speaking on the Senate floor later this afternoon as the Senate convenes the 119th Congress. Receiving just some of the excerpts of your speech, Mr. Leader, I see that you are going to say what you see as providing for our nation's defense in an increasingly unstable world. Explain to us that as we do look at the growing threat from terrorist groups.
It is a dangerous world, Sandra, and it's become increasingly dangerous as a result of failed policies of the Biden-Harris administration and a lack of strength projected on the global stage. As a result of that, you see what's happening in the Indo-Pacific, you see it in the Middle East, you obviously see it at our southern border. These are all examples of failures of policy by this current administration and why we so desperately need the Trump administration to come in to project strength on the world stage, where people again respect the United States and understand what is at stake when it comes to America's national security interests.
Which is why it's
we're going to be working with the administration to get our military readiness to the place where it should be after years of underfunding by the Biden administration.
Got it. And Leader Thune, I'll finish off by playing out this sound from Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, the Republican from Oklahoma, on what is going to happen and what is at stake with President-elect Trump's national security picks. He's suggesting Democrats are going to resist these Trump nominees. Listen.
What's aggravating to me is these same Democrats that are sitting there complaining, saying that these cabinet picks and these director picks are not qualified, are the same people that literally beat Buttigieg over Secretary of Transportation. His only qualification was to be mayor.
So what are we about to see on this front?
Well, the president's put forward a number of nominees in a lot of these key positions, and we're going to do everything we can here in the Senate. We have the advice and consent role here in the United States Senate. We will perform that. We will have these hearings, allow people to ask questions, and then we will move very quickly to see that President Trump has his team in place, and especially, Sandra, in those key national security positions as we look and see what happened just the last couple of days here in this country, and as we see what's happening in an increasingly dangerous world.
Are you getting the sense that there will be big resistance put up by some of these Democrats?
I think there will be. The Democrats obviously are going to do everything they can to thwart, to block, to slow down, to delay President Trump and his agenda, which is why we have to double down and why we have to be united as a team. Republicans in the House and the Senate and the White House working together in order to get an agenda across the finish line, despite what will clearly be a lot of, I think, very vociferous, loud Democrat resistance.
Leader Thune, appreciate you coming on today. Thank you very much.
Good to be with you. Thanks, Sandra.